Welcome back to the AI Breakdown. Last week, of course, the big news in AI land was the release of Llama 3. We got two sizes of Llama 3 with a couple versions each. We got the 8B and the 70B. Llama also announced that it was training a 400 billion plus model, or rather that it had completed training but it wasn't being released until sometime this summer. Point being, these were not even the most powerful Llama 3 models. They were just the first to come out, but they were already finding their way into an updated Meta AI that was coming to the suite of Meta apps, including Instagram, Facebook Messenger, and WhatsApp. Initially, there was a lot of excitement. People thought that the performance and benchmarks looked really promising. People liked the way that Zuckerberg was talking in his interviews with people like Dwarkesh. And beyond any of that, the fact that Meta was continuing to be a standard bearer for an open source approach just has won them the allegiance of lots and lots of builders in the AI space. Now, one of the things that we knew even before getting this Llama 3 model was that Zuckerberg was clearly no longer content to just be the state-of-the-art when it came to open source. With Llama 3 and going forward, he wanted to be state-of-the-art or competing for state-of-the-art in general. So in the first couple days, it was always going to be very hyped up and excited. But the question was, would that hype and excitement start to die down, find problems or warts, or would it actually be sustained? If anything, over the weekend, I have seen the hype increase around Llama 3 and the sense that it makes for a real competition for even OpenAI's most advanced models grow in conversation fairly significantly. So what was going on? Well, first let's talk about its continued climb up various performance leaderboards. Morgan on Twitter points out that on the Arena ELO leaderboard, when you filter that LMSys leaderboard for English prompts only, Llama 3 70B Instruct model beats Opus, Sonnet, and Gemini Pro. Indeed, it is up in the rarefied air, just with the GPT-4 turbos. Bindu Reddy said the same thing. Llama 3 70B is now on par with GPT-4. It is over. When someone suggested that the 400B Llama would take over until GPT-5 or Gemini 2 was released, Bindu actually went so far to predict that Llama 3 would outrun GPT-5. Now, another reason that the hype grew is that people were sharing all of the different ways that they were using Llama 3 that they wouldn't be able to use something like GPT-4. So for example, Llama 3 8B running on a Raspberry Pi 5 at nearly 2 tokens a second, beaming Llama 3 70B to an iPhone from an M1 Mac, and then of course Llama 3 70B running on Grok, which we'll get to in just a minute. A number of reviewers found similar things. An article from Bebomb, for example, ran the magic elevator test to check on the logical reasoning capability. The test has the prompt, "There is a tall building with a magic elevator in it. When stopping on an even floor, this elevator connects to floor 1 instead. Starting on floor 1, I take the magic elevator 3 floors up. Exiting the elevator, I then use the stairs to go up 3 floors again. Which floor do I end up on?" The reviewer was surprised to find that Llama 3 70B got it, but GPT-4 on ChatGPT Plus did not. Now, most of the other tests it ran, both GPT-4 and Llama 3 70B got the correct answer. On one complex math problem, Llama 3 failed, while GPT-4 succeeded. And then on a test of following user instructions, once again, Llama 3 70B beat GPT-4. The prompt was generate 10 sentences that end with the word mango. Llama 3 70B got all 10, while GPT-4 only generated 8. Still, if that sort of out-of-the-box capability was exciting, it was nothing compared to people's interactions with Llama 3 70B running on Grok. We've talked about Grok before, but basically it is an LPU, which is an alternative to a GPU that promises much faster inference. As Rafal Walensky put it, do yourself a favor and try Llama 3 70B with Grok. GPT-4 level answers provided instantly. Insane. Brian Romley shared a video of the prompt code a snake game in Python, and Llama 3 70B running on Grok was done in a fraction of the time of GPT-4, although he didn't follow up about any potential accuracy. Indeed, so many people were getting similar results that the internet started memeing. One account, for example, shared a picture of a sloth with the label GPT-4 Turbo, with a picture of a cheetah representing Llama 3 on Grok. Then, of course, there is the integration with the Meta suite of apps. I think this has perhaps been the surprise exciting factor for the enfranchised AI community, as this is obviously a much more consumer-facing thing, and I don't think that people would have anticipated being as impressed as they are. However, as Adam Little writes, why am I paying $20 a month for ChatGPT Pro when I can ask Llama 3 on Instagram for free? The example prompt he gave was create a Swift UI class for tracking a person's name, age, and gender, which Meta AI with Llama 3 promptly did. Then there's the speed of image generation. Now, this is something that Zuckerberg talked about on his various interviews, and while this isn't fully out yet, people are already very impressed with the demonstration videos. If you've ever used Krea or one of these real-time image generators, you'll know how different it feels to see images being generated in real time as you're updating the prompt, rather than constructing the prompt and then pressing send and waiting for it to happen. Bringing that capacity to a consumer-facing app is potentially an actual game changer, if you'll forgive the use of the hyperbole. Here's how Twitter user Laura Wendell summed it all up. She wrote, "The more I use Llama 3, the more I think that Zuck may have just killed OpenAI and all other large proprietary AI vendors. The gap between latest GPT-4 and Llama 70B is virtually non-existent. Even if OpenAI releases GPT-5 now, 400B Llama 3 is still training and will most likely be in the same ballpark, again closing the gap between open source and proprietary. OpenAI has $2 billion in revenue and is most likely very unprofitable. Meta makes over $100 billion gross profit. They can likely outspend OpenAI by a factor of at least 10 in terms of compute and talent. Speaking of which, a large majority of AI researchers find open source work a lot more appealing than closed for profit. So very likely top talent will end up at Meta. Google is still caught in the issue of AI killing their main revenue line, so most likely can never go as full in as Meta. I think the biggest winners from all this will be application developers because you can choose any API service that hosts Llama 3 or just host it yourself on your own terms. So far, the majority of AI products have been just glorified wrappers around API endpoints. But if you manage to integrate AI deeply into a product, where the user doesn't even have to think they're interacting with an AI, e.g. behind-the-scenes calls that adapt to user context, combining with RAG, feeding it your internal API format, multi-step reasoning and planning, etc., you likely have a very sustainable business that only improves the more advanced the base models become. But vendor risk and dependency should no longer be a concern for AI developers. Added to the fact that hardware is only going to get faster and cheaper, there really are endless opportunities to disrupt existing software domains, much of which we're probably not even able to conceive now, but that will seem obvious in hindsight. I think this idea that an incredibly tiny gap between open and closed source fundamentally changes the landscape is a smart one, and something that we're just beginning to reconcile now. Anyways, there will be lots more to talk about this, I am sure. For now, though, that is going to do it for today's AI Breakdown. Until next time, peace